All right, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Iori. Welcome, Brother Lawrence. The topic for today, I guess your thoughts on, I guess on the audio as well as the chosen scripture for to to line out their topic, Brother Lawrence. So how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Shalom to everybody in the chat. Um, you know, for me, there's none good but the Lord. The Lord. You got to get some saved. um, I I tell you this. I absolutely agree 100% when you said it is the most overlooked scene
Mhm.
and words in that movie.
Mm.
I would say that scene is probably more true than anything else. than anything than anything else. Um, I don't. Hmm, hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to find some words, but every word I got is pretty much what you said. I'm with you. I'm literally walking down the road with you,
Uh-huh.
singing and dancing. I don't know what else to say. Um, I don't think. I don't think the average person can see that though. If
Mm.
that makes sense.
Mm.
Um, there's there's a little this. What am I trying to say? you know that those those phrases we've used all our lives: trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
Someone shows you who they are, believe them, all
Mm-hmm.
that good stuff. But the truth of the matter is that when we get down to the nitty gritty of it, none of us are good people.
That's it.
I mean, seriously, not a single one of us. I mean, even doing something in the most altruistic way, there's still some kind of foundation that there's a part in there that you're doing it for your own satisfaction, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like someone like someone on the street and they're starving. Okay, yeah, you do buy them food. You do it for the sake of them, but there's an aspect of it that you kind of walk away. Yeah, I did a good thing. Yeah, I mean, there's no true altruism, I guess is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to say. But at the end of the day, yeah, not a single one of us are good. I mean, there's not a single one of us who hasn't done something that they've thought about, regretted, try to fix, etc., and so on. If any of that makes sense for what I just said.
No, I got you. No, it makes sense.
It's, I actually, it's interesting because from a because the format changes a little bit
Mm-hmm.
based upon the culture.
I got you.
Like each culture's got its own way of how it looks at and defines good people.
Mm-hmm.
What you would use to define it among colored folk wouldn't be the same among Japanese, or Indian, or something like
Got you.
that. Um, that would be the angle I would like to talk about it from.
Mm.
Get Yuri a Sigma up here,
Okay. Well,
you know.
hey.
Um, and truth be told, having MOT pop up with that southern perspective too would be pretty good. Would be pretty good.
But,
But
well, and, heck, I live in the South too. He come from down the line a little, as far as
a little farther
location, one a
down,
little farther down.
yeah.
But I'm gonna be honest, man. From what I've seen, the most part, it ain't much difference, man. Here in America, um, it's just it's a lot of I think there's a what's the word I'm looking for? The veil is kind of um pulled down over everything in the South more so than anything.
Well, yeah, because you got to always do that
Yeah.
hospitality, that what we do behind closed doors, nobody gets to see out front. You always keep that southern generosity and courtesy, civility veneer up front for everybody to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess for me, well, here's an interesting question:
Mm-hmm.
why would someone define themselves as good?
Because
What are they using? And what are they using to do that? Because I mean, there's so many different ways to define it. If how your friends define you as a good person is not the same as how your family does. How your family does is not the same as society. How society does is not the same as your work environment. If that
mm,
makes sense.
well, for one, what is considered, I guess you could say, kind of almost can be considered to be universally good is a human construct, as Zero would say.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. That would be
um,
correct. That would be absolutely correct. Yeah.
um, the reason is simple that people do this: power. Um, well, two: power and status for others, as well as their own personal ego.
Hmm.
Um, for the power end, it's about, I mean, you have to manipulate and you have to skew and lie to gain an advantage. And then for the status end, it's all about being seen as something, some grand individual.
Okay.
stunting on others, for lack of a better term, to be seen as a grand individual, be seen as greater than what you are.
Okay. So how would that play out when you run into men of faith who follow scripture by doing good in the world? So how does that play then? Because
Mm.
because scripture does call us to do good things to each other and for each other and help.
Hmm.
So in that respect, from someone who's coming from a faith-based perspective, we're doing the work, but for all intents and purposes, that makes us no different than everybody else. Yes, no?
Yeah. I mean, like anyone else. I mean, it's what you do that defines who you are.
Right. But the same argument could be said. It's that it's a construct,
Yes. Yeah.
a particular religious construct, but a construct nonetheless.
Yeah. And the thing is, and even still, even within that religious construct, that's why I said why earlier. Why is important to why you do anything. That's why That's why I say I mean, when you got people that are doing this for status, to be seen as something, to be seen as something greater, um, not because it's just them, it's a part of who they are, or even because I mean they actually enjoy doing it sometimes. Um, so and then I mean, and then you could question. Then I mean, there are people that claim to be so-called people of faith, and then it goes into the thing of, well, are they really?
Well, that's the point of the question. Because, like I
Hmm.
said, if we go out there and we actually do what we're supposed to do, be good Samaritans, help our neighbors, etc., and so
Hmm.
on, then that kind of contradicts the other end of it, where you were saying it's about power and
Well,
it's about control.
I got you.
Because now we move from whether or not there's good people to it actually being a question of whether or not there's altruistic people.
Well, that's the thing. There's it's obviously altruistic people.
Yeah.
Um, that's why I said why. I mean, when you're talking about, I mean, when you got people doing it so they can be, so they can have the appearance of being this godly church, whatever person, not because it's just who they are. I mean,
Mm,
what was it? Whenever Jesus said, "Whenever you pray, go to a closet, to your most private room in your home, and do it."
right.
Not to be, don't do it out in the synagogues, out in the street, to announce to everyone.
Right.
Uh, you do these things in secret so that your Father in heaven can reward you in secret. People who do this for the clout, they already have the reward, the clout.
Right. Well, yeah, and I've seen that on many occasions. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the most recent I can think of is 2 3 months ago having brunch with my brother. We start, we pray over our food,
Mm-hmm.
and he's droning on. I mean, he's and that's why he doesn't want you to do it in public, because that's what happens. You start droning on, you start saying words because you're trying to impress people who are listening.
and and the other thing to that is too, yeah, I know in that specific instance, it talked about the prayer, but about the praying aspect, but it applies to everything you do as
Oh
well.
yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely, it absolutely does. Because,
And I
like I said,
think,
that threw me off. I mean, the waitress is literally standing there trying to be
mhm,
polite, and it's just a quick blessing. It's like, Father, we thank you for bringing us together
they
for
won't
this
pray for 20 minutes.
for
Yeah,
this
I know.
meal. He went from that to talking about nieces and nephews. I like, Chuck, the food's getting cold.
Yeah,
he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, my bad."
yeah.
I like, and I mean, I have a lot of people, especially on my mother's side, who does that.
Hmm.
I've always been leery of that, even as a kid. I'm like, okay, if we're praying for the food, why are you talking about everything else? That's just you trying to impress somebody.
Right.
Um, so, um, I don't know if Yuri knows or not, but you sent him the link in the Discord.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, from a scriptural perspective, I just made the assumption nobody's good because that's what it
Yeah.
says.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's literally what it says. So
Yeah, not no human beings are inherently good by nature because
yeah,
human nature isn't inherently good.
right. I mean, there's none good under the sun except for the Most High Himself, or something
Yeah,
like that. Right?
none good except for the Father, and that's why I went into. That's why I wanted to choose that audio of Agent Smith in the Matrix,
Hmm.
um, where he said that when he said that he was perplexed by human beings classifying themselves as a mammal when all other mammals have a natural equilibrium within the ecosystem.
Yes. Yep. They do.
But human beings, they gather at a place, they
Strip
use
it
up
bare.
all the resources, and they move on to another place to repeat the same process over and over again.
Yeah.
And not only is there you know, and he talked about how, there's one other organism that does this, which is the virus. And
Right.
not only do human beings do that with physical resources, as far as with what we eat and fuel that that gets drowned up out of the ground as far as oil and all these other things.
No, we do it with everything,
But
even
we
emotions.
also do the same thing with people.
Yes. That's what I was gonna say. We do. Yeah, we emotionally, physically, mentally, the whole nine yards.
Resource wise there as well too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
move on to find the next one who we can consume everything that they have to kill.
Right. And of course, there's one group that's larger into that than another, but both groups do it. At
Well,
the end of the
and
day.
the thing is, whenever any culture of people that are advanced technologically, you're gonna see that.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just that here in America, boys, it's on steroids.
Yeah. Well, when you're the founder of it, so or to some degree, a co-founder. So if the fact of the matter is that none of us are good,
Mm-hmm.
then I guess somebody could challenge the question of, so then why do we even try to be good?
Mm.
So
Oh
why
wow! Oh, that's easy.
so why
That's
do the
easy.
work? You know?
That's easy. That's easy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, the simple fact is the reason why I try to do it. I mean, would you want somebody doing this shit to you? And the answer is no. People don't want nobody doing it. Don't want nobody doing it mess to them. But
So okay, so we go back to do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Okay.
yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
really
and even that in and of itself doesn't make you
yeah,
good. It makes you
right,
selfish and self-preservation, which makes
yeah,
sense. It makes perfect sense.
yeah. Like I said, and also, I mean, yeah, I mean that, and like I said, the why is important in that. Why are you doing it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it is self-preservation in a sense, but there. But if it's self-preservation that's inspired from a decent place, it's not so inherently bad. It may it may not be um, wholly righteous, but it's not so inherently bad. I
right.
mean, because human beings naturally know what's decent and what's not.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, it's written on the tables of our heart. It's just that
yeah,
simple.
well, yeah. In the end, I know just walking up on somebody, just knocking the fire out of them, ain't nothing decent about that because of the simple fact I wouldn't want nobody to do me like that.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You don't even need a societal construct for
Yeah,
that. You just know it inherently.
yeah. People know that
Yeah,
inherently,
yeah,
but they, but because of power or their obsession for it, people, as well as other things, people are going to take the, they're going to do as soon as they get it, they're going to people going to abuse it.
yeah.
I mean, no one gets power to not use it.
Well, I
But
mean,
there's a difference between use of power and then abuse of it.
Right, right. Well, I mean, like the saying goes, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Well, I mean,
So,
I,
but
I don't think power. To me, power is like alcohol.
yeah, well,
It
yeah, we
amplifies and reveals who you are.
yeah. Well, yeah, we talked about that
Yeah,
last week.
people because yeah, people don't change.
The Lord said, "Shut up and eat."
Think you talking about when you talking about praying forever.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's not just over food. You see it in churches with sermons, man.
Yes, man, you
I mean,
gotta. You
especially so. I
can't.
mean, I mean, a 30 minutes is more than enough for whatever you picked out in the scripture to speak on. 45 minutes I can give you because you want to elaborate. But when you have, I mean, I've seen ministers do it like it was a 3 hour stream. Seriously,
Oh yeah, no. I
seriously,
mean, there was that. I mean, that runs rampant off in off in color folks church.
it does, it does,
I
and it,
think the only time, the only one I've seen where it doesn't go that bad usually is the AME one.
it's who?
AME,
Oh, okay,
African Methodist Episcopal,
oh, okay, okay.
but pretty much all the others, man, it's gone.
Dude, it happens even in the Israelite churches.
Mm.
It really does.
Hey, I believe you. I'm gonna take your word for it on that one.
Yeah, I mean, they pick a subject. They'll have the subject up, and the next thing you know, it's 3.5, 4 hours later.
Oh yeah, no, I can't.
And
And,
that's and that's where you're not being a good steward, because what you just did is you got the message and point across in 30 minutes, and you use the next 2.5 hours to wipe it from their minds because you just droned on, because now all they're thinking about is you droning on and on. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I get it. I get it. Well, the other thing too is, I mean, it's just it's. I mean, it's like what we seen folks do in the nigga sphere. I mean, old nigga tales. It basically
Mhm.
almost comes down to that. You got some old clown get on there and just want to talk because they have the spotlight and just keep talking.
Exactly. Exactly. That's
That's
exactly
why.
what it is.
That's why I've always preferred the Bible study in
Mhm.
getting something out of it. Whereas that whole sermon, and I really don't. It's just hearing somebody talk about themselves, putting the spotlight on themselves forever. And it, I don't, but I get why, especially colored people and women
Mhm.
get into it because it's all emotionally charged.
Yeah.
I can't learn nothing from that, but hey, if it makes you feel good, I guess hey, I guess it's you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Like I said, it's yeah, it's a hot mess.
mhm.
Striving and working to be good is the right thing to do, to me.
or just in
But
general, striving to be the best that you can be.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And yeah, and actually, being the best that you can be has a tendency to bleed into being a good person who helps others if you can. But there's nothing wrong with striving for that. It's just you have to understand that there's no true thing as a good person. What you're
Hmm.
doing is just trying to um I guess do the best you can.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah.
because like I said, you walk across somebody in the street and you can see they're hungry. Yeah, like I said, you get them something to eat and that's all great. But still, at the end, there's still some underlying measure that you do it to make yourself feel good.
Hmm.
If for no other reason, because in your mind you did the
Or
right thing.
for clout.
Well, yeah, depending on who you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
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 yeah. So
yeah. They're different. And
so that's why I was asking. Then. So I guess the difference between those of us who do it based on a scriptural concept as opposed to the opposite, that's the difference. The need for clout. Because if you do it properly from the scriptural perspective, you'll never know what I do.
Right, right.
You know
Exactly,
what I mean? So, which
exactly.
is how it should work.
Right.
And you and I have talked about that many a times before.
Mm-hmm.
If I do something for somebody, that's it. It don't need to be told to nobody else.
Right.
That's all.
Agree. Agree.
So, I mean, that's all it is to it.
Oh, or just a principle concept, you could kind
Right.
of say, because I mean, so a lot of people, some people that may not believe, and they do it, that way, choose to do it that way because they don't want any attention drawn to themselves, and not so much because they because a lot, it's people that are like, man, look, I don't want this attention of people just beating down my door coming to me, even though I'm doing this because I really want to do it because I want to do it not for clout. But
Right.
I I don't want somebody just coming to me every day just because they tricked off the last $2 they had, on some stupid stuff. But
Well, but that goes back to something that I said before. Like, again, using a homeless person. Like, if they're telling me they're hungry, then okay, come on, let's go across the street to that store and I'll get you something to eat. If they say no, then I know you're not hungry. You just want the money for something else.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's that's that's
yeah.
that's when the being a good steward stage kicks in.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or you can tell them, hey, look, I ain't gonna give it to you, but you come over here and wash this car and you can get fed.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
And on Ray Hama's comment, doing evil things to others will cause evil spirits to weigh heavy on you. I don't want to walk around every day filled with hatred. That last bit there, you know, hatred is such a strong emotion.
Yeah,
And what I wanted to touch on here was that a lot, I mean, people that usually hate something, they loved it once before.
yeah. You have to.
Because I mean, yes, you
You can't
got
have
to. You
it's well, just like
yes.
just like Deuteronomy said, man. It's about balance. It's about equal measure. The only reason you could have that much emotion about something is because you cared about it. That's the only
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yeah, yeah.
Because anything else you just brush off and keep moving. It doesn't
That's right.
matter to you.
That's right. That's right. And
So,
that's why, and the other thing too is what a lot of people don't understand when it talks about love in the Bible. I I would say 99.99999% of people don't even understand the definition of love and what it's talking about.
oh, they don't. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
I
no,
know.
yeah,
I
they don't.
know. I know.
Yeah,
And
because Hulk
and
and I
what it
talk about that.
means,
Hulk and I talk about that all the
yeah,
time.
and what it
So,
simply means is wanting the best for an individual. That's all that love means. Usually, when it's, I mean, it's different if it's talking about between a man and a woman type of relationship. But whenever it talks about love in general or the love of God, all it really means is wanting the best for an individual.
which is why we have laws, statutes, and commandments
Yeah,
for that very reason.
yeah. Well, I mean, without laws and justice, human beings, there's no way they'll be at their best. There's no way.
No, no, not at all.
Yeah, there's no way they will be.
Yeah, it's just when you start changing them around, changing the definition and the meanings and blah 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 blah, where we run into our problems.
Well, people do that for power.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I mean, people only change. Well, okay, people change the definition and word meaning of words and and concepts for power, and the other reason too is so they can feel better about themselves too, so they can feel important.
Oh yeah, to feel important and
Yes,
well, that's
yes.
part. Well, it's three parts. Like you got the first two: power to feel important, and the other one was to hide what they're actually doing because they know it's wrong.
For manipulation. Well, yeah, for manipulation, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Manipulation.
And then even still, that kind of manipulation is a form of power. So I don't know. To me, they run together. But
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that kind of definition. I
Lord,
can see
what's
that.
good, brother?
What's good, bro? What's good?
Oh, it took you so long.
Hey, man.
I can't take you nowhere. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. I'm good, man. This is a great topic, bro. This is a great topic.
Thank you.
This is a great topic. Uh, but go ahead, man. I didn't want to interrupt y'all.
Okay.
Oh no,
Uh,
that's all I had. From that perspective.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, right? In terms of this topic, like the whole thing about people not necessarily being good, you'll see that in different spades. Look, the acquisition of power and social conditioning leads a lot of people to do a lot of regretful shit.
Hmm.
Okay, so like a lot of this stuff is cultural and it's kind of done a certain way. Like back when I grew up, the whole thing about mental health was something that was kind of shrouded in secrecy a little bit, and people didn't really want to talk about it, which I didn't have a problem with. But now, talking about mental health or something like that is so out in the open that everybody's trying to figure out certain things that end up happening. It's like, oh well, why is it like this? Why is it like that? Or whatever, right? And a lot of times for social conditioning and for upward mobility, you'll have people put themselves through shit they really shouldn't put themselves through. Have their kids put through shit that they're not supposed to be put through. And they'll justify it saying, oh, well, he needs to do this, he needs to do that, whatever.
Mhm.
Most of these people really don't sit down and actually invest time in what's required. But that's just one of those things. The nicest people in the world can, in their own way, do things that are not the things they are supposed to do, but justify their ability to do it because they see a greater good in what they do. So,
Yeah.
So okay, so that's more along the lines of, and correct me if I'm wrong.
sure.
So kill 1,000 to save 1,000,000 kind of thing, or am I
It,
reaching?
I wasn't going there.
No, no. I mean, if I'm reaching, I'm reaching. I
Yeah,
have no
yeah.
problem with it.
I was saying it from like an educational perspective,
Okay.
right? Like somebody who's really not like let's say you got somebody who's a normal kid doing whatever, and he's not necessarily academically inclined. Well, that can lead to a lot of negative things depending on who you're talking to, right? It's like, okay, like we have to automatically try and find something that's wrong, right? But sometimes him not being academic is a gift. It's okay for him not to quote unquote be academic, right? And I and I'll tell you about this stuff privately. I'm not gonna like
Yeah,
talk
yeah, yeah, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Yeah, I get that. I
but
get that.
but what I'm saying is like if there's something wrong from one perspective, people will try to do something to make it right, but certain people aren't supposed to be put in that system, is what I'm saying. But since this is the only system we have, a lot of people, do backflips trying to fit into a system that's not supposed to fit in for them. You know what I
No,
mean?
and okay, and I get that. I actually do. I'm trying to connect them to my head about the aspect on people being good or not.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like from from a particular perspective, you would think that these people are good, church going, temple going type people. But at the same time, like the fact that you have to fit into this system will make you do certain things you wouldn't normally do. And if you don't do something you normally do and you're doing it out of pressure, you can't say that the things that you're doing are morally good. They're,
Yeah, I see where you're going now.
they're
Yeah.
influence.
Okay. I just got it. Yeah. Yeah. I just got it myself.
So that would mean the things that you don't do from a normal perspective that are influenced off of some secondary perspective, I would call that shit evil because it's not something that you normally do.
Would you say that because using the example you just gave, people that means people are working outside the normal parameters of their being.
Correct.
So with that being said, then I'm assuming your theory is everyone's naturally good until outside forces
I
put
wouldn't
them in a
say that.
position.
I wouldn't say that. See,
Okay.
like how I look at it is people are good and evil at the same time. It just depends on what triggers they're using or different things that they're having. I'm
Right.
not somebody who says that people are normally good or evil. It's a choice to be one or the other, given a certain circumstance.
True.
You understand what I'm saying? Like that's technically why I have the name that I have. So it's just it's to show that people aren't necessarily good or evil. It just depends. If you put enough pressure on people, you'll find them doing things that they would never do, like 3 weeks ago, right? Like
Yeah.
everything that we're seeing politically, we see that.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, somebody walks down the street. Hey, bro, what's going on? 3 weeks later, after being pumped up with whatever they're being pumped up with, I'm not going to talk to him. He's this.
Yeah.
If that's not evil, I don't know what the shit that is. They're influenced by certain things that will make them feel that the person that they spent 20 years with down the street had beers with, barbecues with, like all that kind of stuff, right? All of a
Yeah.
sudden now we can't talk to each other.
Yeah. I've
So
seen that.
that
Yeah.
ain't evil.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that's
I've seen that in families.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that in families. So okay. Now I know there's a name for it. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But
Sure.
there's a philosophical name for it. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But from what I'm hearing from you to you, and again, if I'm wrong, correct me.
Sure.
People are always in a neutral state. They don't become good or bad until they make that choice.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. All right.
And you'll find out whether somebody is really good or really bad when you have a back against the wall situation. It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's
really
what.
it's
Yeah, I see what
really
you're saying.
easy to be good when you don't got nothing on the line.
True.
Yeah,
That's true.
You
That is
know,
true.
yeah,
That is true.
I can I can wake up and be happy and all this other kind of shit. Like that shit don't mean anything. It's meaningless. What when things are on the line and when there's genuine pressure, are you able to be that same person?
So we get to see the true character.
yes,
No.
yes.
When
Yeah.
when things are tested,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
And that which is pretty much the nature and existence of being a man. Yeah. Yeah. I got you now.
so yeah, I mean that's when you'll really figure out who you are, right? You'll
Yeah.
figure that stuff out then.
Yeah.
What when people are shaming you for certain things because you don't necessarily meet the standard of the group that you didn't necessarily care about because you wanted to be your own person. Well, like that's when you'll really figure out who you are. You know, to be perfectly honest with you, what's more important to me than good or evil is really developing a structured, conditioned sense of self. Because once you really build that, you can get through things.
Yeah.
The evil stuff is a part of that, right? But it, it's certain things are beyond that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and there was a great point you were bringing up there about the pressure. Uh, that's when you get to find out um, who individuals really are. That's who they end up showing who they really are, because it's one thing they say about pressure. Well, two things they actually say. Um, it creates diamonds or it busts pipes.
That's right.
This is true.
That's right.
This is true.
That's right.
This
Yeah.
is true.
It is.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah. Because like I said, uh, yeah, yeah, I get it. I
yeah.
get it. Until that choice is made, you're not a good. Bottom line is Schrodinger's cat. Bottom line is what we're talking
Until
about.
until you see that guy like being pushed up against whatever he's pushed up, you really don't know what kind of person he is. You know,
Hmm.
and because that's the test, right? That's the test. Like, all right, I'll give you an example of this. I'll give you an example of this. I usually don't talk about scripture and stuff like that because I look at these books as books, and technically, life as being the ultimate proving ground of whether you actually learn something. But okay, if you guys don't know this, there's an Indian book named the Mahabharata, which is the Great War. Okay, in in the Mahabharata, there's a character named Karna, right? Karna is of low caste, low birth, all that kind of stuff, poor, whatever you want to call it. Right? But he's the son of the sun god. He just was raised by a family that's not of high status. He ends up becoming a warrior, a chief in the Kaurava army. In the story, there's the Kaurava army and the Pandava army. One army is considered to be negative, one army is considered to be positive. There's a good because you have to have a good guy, bad guy complex in these stories, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
So he's known as being super generous and whatever. He's the best archer in the entire war. And technically, Krishna knows that unless we take him out, because Krishna is the ultimate strategist. Don't let any of these Hare Krishna people who jump around and look stupid and all this other dumb shit. Okay, don't let anybody think have you think that Krishna is anything other than a master tactician.
Mm.
He's playing chess. Okay, so Krishna's like, look, if if we're gonna win this war, we've got to get Karna off the battlefield. We either got to deal with him mentally, meaning break his spirit, or we need to find some way to get him off the battlefield because without that, we don't win the war. Okay? So Krishna goes up to Karna and says, look, I know you were an orphan, and I know you don't know who your mom is. Uh, and I'm going to tell you who your mom is, and I'm going to tell you who your family is. And that was the one weakness Karna had because he was always wondering who he was. It was like a case of mistaken identity for him,
Mhm.
right? because he's like, I'm from this lower caste, doing this, doing that, whatever, but I'm a king now. But everybody don't treat me like that. So Krishna says, look, you're the elder brother of the Pandavas, and you know you have royal birth, and I'm gonna tell you to quit this side and come join us. Come fight with your brothers. That whole skin folk, kinfolk bullshit that happens in a lot of these spaces. Okay? And he's like, I won't fight with you because Duryodhana, uh, Duryodhana, who's the guy that you don't like, gave me everything. When I was out on the street, not knowing who I was and everything else like that, he gave me a position amongst the kings and all this other kind of stuff. He made me who I was. And in his final day of need, you expect me to leave and you expect me to leave and throw out all the friendships that I have over here? I die before I fight against my best friend. Right? Now,
Right.
from from a biblical perspective, that's considered, oh well, he made the wrong choice, he was fighting on the wrong choice. But he spent his whole life being sheltered by the king that he was fighting for. So from one perspective, it's an ethical dilemma because are you gonna basically walk out of somebody who helped you just just because the other people are going to give you a better deal, or are you going to be loyal to the people that basically brought you to the dance? And
And
you know
okay. And you know, I was gonna say here, technically, it's not always even wrong from a biblical standpoint. When you look at the story of David, um, he, after he killed Goliath and Saul, who was king at the time, became his enemy. He ended up going to the Philistines, and who he was, who his actions ended up toppling their empire, but he went to the Philistines for support, an enemy.
Yeah.
right,
Um, and he gained refuge and help from them. So it's even not even always the case there biblically.
Yeah.
right.
And that was wild too.
Yeah, yeah.
No, seriously.
And I know it's
I mean, for him to do that, that was wild to
yeah,
me.
and there I know there's other instances too. I mean, even like when you look at we talked about it with his grandmother who was a Moabite who they weren't supposed to deal with, but because
Oh,
she had
Ruth.
shown Ruth, I'm sorry, his grandmother, who she has shown
I'll be right back,
qualities.
guys.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
cool. She has shown qualities that were worth being a part of the Israelite faith, and he allowed her to be in the main branch of of the bloodline. So it just goes to show that even that's not always set in stone. It goes to show what I was talking about in that book, in that story, that it's what you do that defines, really. I mean, that to me, that's what I got. It's what you do that defines exactly
Yeah.
who you are.
Oh yeah. 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 No question. But like I said, you always have to keep in mind that no matter what you do, at least from a scriptural perspective, there are none that are good. There's
Yes.
always an ulterior motive for what you're doing, even if you might not know what it is at the moment, but there is one.
And I mean,
Um,
even from a non-scriptural standpoint, it's even still the case.
yeah,
Yeah. From
yeah,
a practical standpoint, it's still the case.
yeah. Because I mean, even with me, I mean, I do good things, but I got to be honest, I do them. I do them because I care about the people I'm doing them for, and that in and of itself is an ulterior motive because I wouldn't do it for anybody else.
Right, right.
So you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So I mean, I'm being honest about it.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you for that check. Appreciate that. Putting that link in the chat. But yeah, um,
Mhm.
well, I'm gonna have to
Just waiting
close
for
this
you.
down. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. We got like 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, I got to get
Just
out of
waiting for
here.
Yuri to come back.
But
But I've said all I got on it.
yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't really have anything more. But
Yeah, I agree. Checking. I agree. Yeah, always take Britannica over Wikipedia for sure.
okay,
For sure. For sure.
man. And thank you for that link. Appreciate that. But yeah, man, I think we had another good one. This one just kind of come to me, I guess, over something that needed to be to yeah, it's something I've been thinking about a concept, a topic that I knew it needed to be talked about here and need to be gone over. Uh,
Yeah.
just been wondering how to do it and how we go around it, and I
Yeah.
think it went over well. And
Well,
uh,
I mean, it's one of those things where, like you said, there are no good people. If there were good people, if we were good people, we wouldn't ask about how to be good. So we would just be,
mm,
you know what I mean?
mm.
We wouldn't be defined. We wouldn't have to constantly think about our choices on whether or not they're good or not good. We would just be good people. So
Well, and I think the other thing is too, you wouldn't have to ask either, for validational reasons on for assurance, on whether what you did was good.
oh yeah,
On the
absolutely.
same end.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No argument on that whatsoever. Yeah,
I know why you always taking this time, but shoot, I'm gonna have to get out of here.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, we can just tell everyone shalom, be
yeah,
good, and shut down and just wait for him in the back
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I know you got to get going.
Yeah, yeah. I got something I got to do it here in about 7 minutes. So,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. Well, all right. Hey, your I guess those are your final words, unless you got anything else.
All right, same as always. Hashtag men first.
All right, all right. Well, thank you to Chick and Jay Wolf and Ray and others that came out and heard this. Yes, yes, they are subjective. Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Actually,
yeah,
thank you. Appreciate that checking. That's what I was trying to say. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
yeah. But thank you. Hope y'all got a lot out of this. And hey, there'll be more content coming. But that's all I got. Don't be a hospital gown nigga. Peace.
Peace.